In this lesson, we're going to clean up a few more dependencies by moving some classes and functions to better locations. But first, we're going to do a quick cleanup here that was brought up by Stephen, one of the people who's watching the course. When we added the Fodi NuGet package, the default package reference gives you a warning. It's okay to have the warning. It doesn't stop the program from working, but it's always a good idea to eliminate warnings from your build. So inside the View Models project, if we double click on SOSCSRPG.ViewModels, we see the references here, and the package reference for property change.fodi, we need to add private assets equals all. And we need to do the same thing for the SOSCSRPG.models project. Double click on that and add the private assets equals all. And in the engine project, do the same thing. So now when we build the solution, we won't get those warnings. Now we'll go on to the code changes. And the first thing is in the SOSCSRPG.services project, we're going to move the logging service out of that project and into SOSCSRPG.Core. Right now it's only used by the WPF UI project, but we might want to have any of the projects log an exception. So all you need to do is cut and paste the class from out of the services project into the core project. Then, like always, we'll go into the class, update its namespace to SOSCSRPG.Core, and then we have to update anything that calls it. So we'll go into the WPF UI project, right click on dependencies, add a project reference. So now this can access SOSCSRPG.Core. And then we need to go into app.xaml.cs, and we need to change the using directive that used to point to SOSCSRPG.engine to SOSCSRPG.Core. The next thing we're going to do is move the message broker and the game message event args classes out of engine into SOSCSRPG.Core. So just cut and paste those out of the old engine location into SOSCSRPG.Core. We'll go into the message broker, update the namespace to SOSCSRPG.Core. The same with the game message event args, update its namespace. What we want is for anything to be able to raise a message through the message broker or subscribe to a message through it. So we also need to go back into message broker, and the raise message function used to be internal. Now we need to make it public. This will let the view models access it, the models, the services, and even the UI. And the final part of this change is we need to add the using directives for any classes that use the message broker or the event args. In WPF UI, we need to go into mainwindow.xaml.cs, and we can get rid of this using SOSCSRPG.models.event.args, and make sure we have a using directive for the SOSCSRPG.Core. And in the engine view models, we need to go into game session. We need to have a using directive to SOSCSRPG.Core because this is subscribing to messages. And in the engine models, in the battle class, we need to add a using directive to SOSCSRPG.Core. And for right now, we need to leave the using directive for SOSCSRPG.models.event.args because we have some other classes in that namespace that the battle class currently uses. The next step is going to be to remove the items that are function out of the inventory service into an extension method. So we'll go into the engine services inventory service, and we will cut out the items that are function, and we're going to paste that into the engine shared extension methods class. I just pasted it in here. So now this will be available to the service and to the models. We need to add a using systems.collections.generic directive up here for the extension methods class. Then we need to go back to inventory service. We can remove the using directive to engine.factories, and we can delete two unused functions. There was one called add item from factory at lines 19 through 22, and then there was the add items at lines 29 through 43. Those aren't being used, so we'll delete those. And the final step for this change will be to go into the models inventory class, and we will change the using directive that used to be engine.services and use engine.shared. So now for the weapons property, this items that are, it's going to get this function from the extension methods class instead of from the service class. Our final step, as always, will be to test the game, and I'm sure you know how to do that, so I won't show it. But if you have any questions about this, please leave a comment beneath the video or on the support page, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.